morning, students, and this is your first lesson, that is in history side, part 1, Advent of Europeans to India. So what do you mean by Advent? Advent is nothing but how to enter. How did Europeans enter to the India? India and Europeans had a connection between them with a phrase called trade. So the first thing you have studied in this lesson is trade. So what do you mean by trade? Trade is nothing but exchange of goods. Exchange of goods we call it as trade. It can be exchanged for money or it can be exchanged for goods. So there was a trade happening between Europeans and Asians via a place called Constantinople. How did this trade happen? In the sense, the Arab merchants used to take the goods from Asia and they kept it or they sold in a place called Constantinople, where Italian merchants came to Constantinople, took the goods and they sell or sold to other European countries, other parts of European countries. This is how the trade was happening in Constantinople. Asian goods by Arab merchants and these goods were purchased by Italian merchants and they used to sell to the other parts of Europe. So this Constantinople was captured by Ottoman Turks in the year 1453. These Turks captured Constantinople in the year 1453. Why did they capture in the sense? They captured so that the trade gets limited and they lead or they put more tax on the goods. When the tax were increased, the merchants or the person who sell the goods were in the loss. So this was a drawback of capturing the Constantinople. Just concentrate on this, and this is very important. That is, Constantinople was captured by Ottoman Turks in the year 1453. And when this Constantinople was captured, the merchants cannot pay more tax to the Turks. So they wanted to find a new sea route to India. What's the use of finding a sea route? Why did they want to find a sea route? Because of trade. India is a land which is rich of all the spices such as cardamom, pepper and other spices. So to get these spices, they wanted a new route than the land route, because land route is captured by Ottoman Turks and they cannot pay more taxes. So they wanted to find a new sea route to India. Many Spain kings or Portugal kings were trying hard to find the sea route. The successful person was Vasco da Gama. Vasco da Gama is from Portuguese or Portugal. He was from a place called Luxon and he reached to India in a west coast called Calicut. Calicut in the west coast. If this is the India, this is the Calicut. You can see. So he reached to a place called Calicut. So he was the first person to reach India via sea route to a place called Calicut. After him, many other Europeans started to enter India. The other European countries are Portuguese. Again, Vasco da Gama is from Portuguese. Portuguese, Dutch, French and English. So what happened after this we will study now. So now you have understood that the 4 European countries which came to India were Portuguese, Dutch, French and English. So now we will be studying about the Portuguese. So Portuguese entered India by Vasco da Gama. That is, Vasco da Gama entered Portuguese for the first time to India by a sea route. So he was made as Viceroy of Portuguese. After Vasco da Gama, there was another person called Francisco de Almeida. This person was the next Viceroy of Portuguese and he introduced a policy called Blue Water Policy. He introduced a policy called Blue Water Policy. What does this policy means is that, as name says, water. Water is superior than the land. So Blue Water Policy says that water is superior than the land. After Francisco Almeida, there is another person called Alfonso de Albuquerque. This person was the main, or he seems to be the main person who built the Portuguese in the India, who built the Portuguese rule in the India. So he is termed as actual ruler of or founder of Portuguese in India, Portugal rule in India. So this Alfonso de Albuquerque waged a war. He made a war, made a war in the year 1510 against Sultan of Bijapur. In 1510, Alfonso de Albuquerque made a war against Sultan of Bijapur and won Goa. He won Goa by the war. So they made the capital as Goa. They made their capital as Goa. So Goa is the administrative center of Portuguese. How did they decline? How did they decline? This is when English and French power started in India, the declining power of Portuguese started. It means they started to lose with the entry of or with the arrival of English and French. Next is our Dutch. Dutch came to India in 1600. 1600. They were from Netherlands, that is Holland. They, Dutch, came to India with the permission of, or with the company, United East India Company. They started, the Dutch were ruling in India by United East India Company. They did not concentrate only in India like Portugal did. They concentrate to trade, that is the spices, in other countries such as India, Java, Sumatra and Indonesia. So when they started to trade, they need to store the grains or spices, whatever they do. So they need warehouses. Warehouses is nothing but to safeguard the products or spices which have to be sold. So they had warehouses in India like Surat, Roch, Kambe, Cochin, Masulipattanam, Nagapattanam and etc. Just remember 2 or 3 names where the Dutch had their warehouses. I'll repeat the names again: Surat, Roch, Kambe, Cochin, Masulipattanam and Nagapattanam. These are the warehouses of Dutch, and it is an extra information. Their capital was Pulicat. Their capital was Pulicat. It's not in your textbook then. So even the same reason why did the Portuguese lose their rule in India, the same reason was applied to the Dutch, that is arrival of English and French made their power to decline in India. So what they did not go back to the Dutch. Instead of that, they limited themselves, means they started to trade only with islands of Indonesia. So let me brief all this too again. You can, as you are seeing this, Portuguese were the first people to enter India, that is to the Calicut. Who was the first person to enter India was Vasco da Gama. After Vasco da Gama, there was another person called Francisco Almeida. He was the viceroy. He implemented Blue Water Policy. After him, Alfonso Almeida. He was the actual founder of Portuguese. So he waged a war against this Sultan of Bijapur in 1510 and won the place called Goa. And Goa was the administrative place of Portuguese, which means whatever the transaction they are making, it is through the place called Goa. Next is about the Dutch. They are from Netherlands or Holland, and they did not focus only on India. They also focused on other countries such as Java, Sumatra, Indonesia. So they had warehouses across the India. Their power declined as and when English or French started to rule in India. They limited themselves to islands of Indonesia. So children, the next two countries, the European countries we are reading is about English and the French. English in Now we are studying about English and French. English got permission from the Queen Elizabeth. She gave permission for a company called East India Company in the year 1600. Let me remind you that English was ruled by a company called East India Company, whereas the Dutch were ruled by another word extra the behind, that is United East India. Dutch is United East India Company and English is East India Company. And upon the permission by the Queen Elizabeth, they came to India in 1600, but the actual rule was started in the year 1613. In the 1613, they began to rule in India. In the beginning, they took the permission from the Mughal Emperor Jahangir. The Mughal Emperor is Jahangir. With the help of Jahangir, they got the permission to have the warehouses. Warehouses are nothing but to store the products of the spices. So upon getting the permission in the year 1617, English officer named called Sir Thomas Roe. Sir Thomas Roe. He became the royal ambassador from the James I court. He's a king, and his royal ambassador was Sir Thomas Roe, who came to India, and he started the factories. Instead of having the warehouses, they began to rule. How to begin? They built their own factories in our country, that is India. So they built the factories such as in places called Agra, Ahmedabad, Bhuj, and etc. And they were not satisfied by having the warehouses or factories. They wanted to capture us, or they wanted to keep us as captive. So in the year 1639, they captured Madras. They captured Madras from a king of Chandragiri, and after capturing the Madras, they built a fort. Fort is usually built to protect or to show that we live here, or to have eye on the spy. They usually build a fort. It is like a boundary. So they built a fort across the Madras, and in 1690, the king purchased 3 villages. That is Charles. He purchased 3 villages, and he built a fort called St. William Fort. He built a fort called St. William Fort. So which are the 3 villages are Sautanata, Calicut, and Govindapuram. So this fort was built across the Calcutta. So the older name was Calcutta was Calicut. So the Madras has a fort called St. George Fort, and Calcutta has a fort called St. William Fort. Next is about the French. They came to India in 1664, and it was a government-owned company. And they built their first factory as soon as they came to India. They built their own factory. After building the factories, they established many more factories. It was at Surat. The first was at Surat. The next was they built Mahe, Machilipattanam, etc. And they captured a place called Valikandapuram. French captured a place called Valikandapuram by a Muslim official. He captured it from the Muslim official, and this is currently known as Pondicherry or Puducherry. Today we call that Valikandapuram as Pondicherry or Puducherry, and it became their capital later, Pondicherry or Valikandapuram. Then is about in 1746, Dupleix became the Governor General of the French. When his main aim was to capture India, and he was the main reason for the Carnatic Wars, which you will be studying now. So if you look at English and French, Both were strong. Both came to India, all the four came to India to trade, but later they started to rule. But most successful European country who ruled us was English and French. So now let's see what will happen in the next coming topic in your textbook. That is, the war between English and French led to the Carnatic Wars. So we will be studying about the Carnatic Wars in the next segment. Now let us know a story behind this Carnatic Wars. Indians had the loopholes, between the neighboring rulers or kings. So this was an advantage to both French and English. So in Hyderabad was ruled by a ruler called Asaf Jah. He gave a permission to Dostali to rule a place called Carnatic. So Asaf Jah is in Hyderabad and he gave a permission to rule Carnatic to Dostali. But this Dostali was corrupted, or he was greedy, he was inefficient. So what did Asaf Jah, the ruler of Hyderabad or Nizam of Hyderabad, did? He removed Dostali and instead of this place, he bought Anwaruddin. When he removed Dostali, this became a rivalry between Asaf Jah and Dostali's son-in-law called Chanda Sahib. Meanwhile, what happened? Asaf Jah dies. When he dies, his son Nazir Jung and grandson Muzaffar Jung wanted or started fighting to become the Nizam of Hyderabad. Carnatic War 1 or first Carnatic War 1 happened in the year 1746 to 1748. Why did this war happen? Was because of the place called Madras. Madras were the capital of the British or administrative place of the British. This Madras was captured by a French governor. Who was the French governor? Yes, Dupleix. This Dupleix wanted to capture the Madras. So he alone cannot capture the Madras. Already you know that India had loopholes, like the kings among themselves were fighting. So what the Dupleix did, he called La Bourdanis from Mauritius. La Bourdanis was a military officer in a French military officer in a Mauritius. He came and he captured the Madras. So La Bourdanis came and he captured the Madras. After taking Madras as a captive, British were panicked, or British were very angry. Why did the French made such a move? So British sought the help of Anwaruddin. If you remember Anwaruddin, he was a person who is the Nawab of the Carnatic. So he was a person who was the Nawab of Carnatic. So he took the help of Anwaruddin. So, but it was a failure. They couldn't capture the Madras. It was a failure. So what did the British did? A very brilliant move, that is, they paid money to La Bourdanis. They paid money to La Bourdanis. When they paid money to La Bourdanis, he took the money from the British, though he's from the French. He took the money from the British and moved back to the Mauritius. This caused Dupleix. This called a Dupleix. Very angry, he was very angry by the move of this, so he tried to attack Madras again, but it was a failure. So both English and French came to end this war by a treaty called Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle. This treaty was signed in Europe. Though the wars were made in India, it was signed in the Europe. The next war is about Carnatic War 2. It started in the year 1749 and ended in the year 1754. They French made Salabat Jung as the ruler of which place in the sense of Hyderabad. You remember there was Asaf Jah, his son and grandson were fighting for the ruler post, that is Nizam post. Even Salabat Jung was the second son or other son of Asaf Jah. So French made Salabat Jung as the Nizam of Hyderabad. This made English angry. So what they did, the English person called Robert Clive, they did not make a war in Hyderabad. They came to Carnatic and they attacked a place called Arcot. They attacked a place called Arcot and they captured it. They captured the Arcot. And that time Chanda Sahib was ruling the Arcot. He was supporting the French. Chanda Sahib was supporting the French. So he was made as the captive and later he died. And thus the second war of Carnatic came to end with the sign of Treaty of Pondicherry. So just remember the key points of both the wars, Carnatic War 1 and Carnatic War 2. The main reason was Duplessis. Duplessis captured the Madras with the help of La Boginas, who was from Mauritius. But British seek the help of Anwar, the second point, but it wasn't success or it was a failure. British seek Anwar, but it was a failure step. So what did British do? British took the money or paid the money to La Boginas and he ran away or he went back to the Mauritius, and thus the war ended with the treaty called Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle. The second war was the French made Salabat Jung as the Nizam of Hyderabad, and in the south, that is in the Carnatic, Robert Clive captured or attacked Arcot and captured the Arcot. When this happened, the Nizam of Arcot was Chanda Sahib. This Chanda Sahib was taken as captive and later he died. The second war was ended with the Treaty of Pondicherry. Now we will be studying to the next war, Carnatic War 3. So the next war, that is Carnatic War 3, happened in the year 1756 and 1763. What was the reason for this war was French army. A French general called Count Lally, he attacked or besieged a place called Pondicherry in 1760. A French general named called Count Lally besieged or attacked Pondicherry in 1760. When this happened, English, you all know that for every action there is a reaction. The same thing happened here. The action was French capturing the Pondicherry. So the reaction was from the Sir Hydercourt. He made a war against the Pondicherry against the French and captured a military officer called Bhutsa. He captured Sir Hydercourt captured Bhutsa. At this time, Count Lally ran away and hid himself in a place called Pondicherry. So, upon knowing this, in the 1761, again, Sir Hydercourt attacked Pondicherry and took Count Lally as captive. This was the cause or reason for the Carnatic War, and it was ended with a treaty called Treaty of Paris. So you have to remember all the three treaties. The first treaty was Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle. Second treaty was Treaty of Pondicherry. Third treaty was Treaty of Paris. So the next part of the lesson is that now after the war of all the three Carnatic wars, French lost their hopes and the ruling power in India. The British or English were superior. Now British have control over the south, the Carnatic and Hyderabad part. So they wanted to gain the power in North India. So they targeted a place called Bengal. Why only Bengal? In the sense it was rich in agriculture, it was a very suitable place for industries and to make a trade. So they opt the place called Bengal. Who gave the permission to do trade in Bengal was a Mughal emperor again, Farrukhsiyar. He gave a permission to do trade. Also, he gave dastaks. Dastaks. What is dastak is nothing but a license to the company, British company. So this license were misused by the officials of the company in the British, or Britishers misused the license, and this was a great loss to the Indian merchants or Indian businessmen. Therefore, Farrukhsiyar, who was a Mughal emperor, was opposed by other Nawabs of the Bengal, that is Murashid Ali Khan and the Ali Vardi Khan. So this two persons and others were opposing the Farrukhsiyar, and which led to the two other battles which we are studying the further, that is Battle of Plassey and Battle of Bhutsa. So first we are studying about the Battle of Plassey. Battle of Plassey occurred in the year 1757. Before this, a year behind, in 1756, Ali Vardi Khan, the Nawab who was against the Mughal ruler Farrukhsiyar, he died. Ali Vardi Khan died, and his grandson Siraj Dawla became the Nawab of the Bengal. When he became the Nawab of Bengal, even he was against the British rules, that is about the Dastak. So what he did, he wanted to wage a war against the British. So here are the three reasons what made for the occurrence of Battle of Plassey. First one is misuse of dastaks. Even Suraj Dawla was against the British with the misuse of dastaks. That is, there will be a loss for Indian vendors or the Indian businessmen or trade people in Indian trade people. So second was mining of fort without permission. What did British do in a sense? They repaired Calcutta fort. They captured Calcutta by capturing Calcutta fort, they repaired it and replaced with cannons. Cannons are used for firing. So they replaced with cannons. So this means Siraj-ud-Dawla only because he was the Nawab of the Bengal. So what he did, Siraj-ud-Dawla, for reaction, he was the reason for this Black Room tragedy. He attacked a fort called William Fort. After attacking the William Fort, he captured all the British officials who were in that fort. There were 146 Britishers, out of which 123 were died. So he captured William Fort. In William Fort there were officials. So 146 officials were there. Out of 146, 123 were died or killed. How? In the sense, he made them locked in a small room. So we call it as Black Room tragedy. This enraged Robert Clive. So with help of these three rich persons or rich businessmen, Omichan, Manchan and Jagat Seth, and also with the help of Mir Jafar. This Mir Jafar is a military official of Siraj-ud-Dawla. The loophole is here. He himself is a military official for Siraj-ud-Dawla. Robert Clive said Mir Jafar to be neutral during the war, not to do anything or to help Siraj-ud-Dawla. So this was the reasons for Battle of Plassey. What happened? And Robert Clive was successful. Siraj-ud-Dawla was thrown out of the Bengal. So outcomes or results were, it's a common thing when you see this war, we lacked unity. Indians lacked unity because own military official was against the Siraj-ud-Dawla, and Farrukhsiyar, the king, was also supporting the Britishers by giving dastaks, or the dastak is nothing but license. So this was we came to know that we are lacking unity and we don't have any morality in ourselves. We don't have any moral values. Second one is Siraj-ud-Dawla was the Nawab. So when he was thrown out, Mir Jafar was made as Nawab of Bengal. The person who was a military official became the Nawab of Bengal. Next was they got exclusive rights to trade in Bengal, only in Bengal. Since they captured Bengal and they had the power in Bengal, they got all the rights to do or trade in Bengal. Since Siraj-ud-Dawla attacked William Fort, he was fined to pay 70 lakhs to the English. These were the outcomes of the Battle of Plassey. Now we shall move to the next war, Battle of Bhutsa. Next we are studying about the Battle of Bhutsa. Before getting to the Battle of Bhutsa, the Nawab of Bengal was Mir Jafar. So Mir Jafar was removed because Britishers felt that he was inefficient and they removed Mir Jafar and brought Mir Qasim as the Nawab of Bengal. Mir Qasim is a nephew of Mir Jafar. So Battle of Bhutsa started. Mir Qasim was made as Nawab of Bengal. Mir Qasim was made of Mir Qasim as Nawab of Bengal. When he was made as Nawab of Bengal, he had to pay to Britishers 20 lakh pounds. 20 lakh pounds, as well as few places to the British as a compensation, as he was the Nawab, as he was made as the Nawab. So what was the reasons are that he was the Nawab of Bengal. He had to pay 20 lakh pounds for Britishers along with few places to the Britishers, and he felt he was not a puppet in the hands of Britishers. So he declared himself as independent king. He declared himself as independent king. And he also removed the dastaks. Dastaks were very much problematic to Indian merchants. So he removed the dastak. Upon doing all these activities, Britishers dethroned Mir Qasim and brought Mir Jafar as the Nawab of Bengal. When again Mir Jafar was made as Nawab of Bengal, Mir Qasim was angry. With the help of Indian merchants, as well as Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II and Nawab of Awadh Shia-ud-Dawla, he waged a war against them in the year 1764, and the general or the person who made a war in the British was Hector Munro. Under the leadership of Hector Munro, Britishers were there, and this Mir Qasim, Indian merchants, Shah Alam II and Nawab of Awadh, that is Shia-ud-Dawla, were together made a war against Hector Munro in 1764, and that we call it as Battle of Bhutsa. 1764 we call it as Battle of Bhutsa. What do you mean? And Battle of Plassey was in the year 1757. Plassey is 1757. Bhutsa is 1764. After this war, there are some results were. Anything. Whenever you face exam, there must be a result. So, after the exam called war or a battle, there were the results of the outcomes. Shah Alam II gave the Diwani rights to the British. He gave Diwani rights to the British. Shah Alam II, who was a Mughal emperor, gave the Diwani rights. Why he gave in the sense? All these three were lost. They lost the battle with the intermonroe after the defeat with Britishers. They had given some of the tasks to be made. What were the tasks that comes under the outcomes? So here Shah Alam II gave the Diwani rights. Diwani rights is nothing but land tax. Land taxes were given to the Britishers from the Mughal Empire. Second was all rights were sold to or fee for rupees 26 lakhs. So whatever the rights that Shah Alam II was having, he was paid. Shah Alam II was paid rupees 22 lakhs per annum. That is every year. Per year British used to pay 26 lakhs for all the rights. British took all the rights from him. He is no more called as a king. So for that compensation, British themselves gave us 26 lakhs to the Shah Alam II. Then Nawab of Awadh was fined with 50 lakhs. Since he made a war against Britishers, he was fined for the 50 lakhs. And Mir Jafar died, who was the Nawab of Bengal. After his death, his son was given the pension. So this is about the Battle of Bhutsa. So all the north places such as Bihar, Bengal, Awadh, Odisha came under the control of Britishers, and Britishers implemented, that is Robert Clive. Dual government was implemented by Robert Clive. What is this dual government? Dual government means Robert Clive. Robert Clive implemented dual government, which means all the administrating, dual means two. All the administrative will be looked after the king itself. All the taxes will be looked after the Britishers. How clever, right? So administrative power is with the king and the money power is with the Britishers. So this completes your first lesson, Advent of Europeans to India.